been quite a while since I've read anything resembling a current Batman story. I read those Sunday comics a while back that I reviewed. This, though, is new. It's called Dark Knight, a true Batman story, written by Paul Dini with art by Eduardo Risso, who I was not familiar with. I was familiar with Paul Dini, though. He's largely responsible as one of the collaborators on the Batman animated series and other animated works. This is not a traditional Batman story at all, though. It's really an autobiographical story about Paul Dini and something that happened to him. I don't think I'm revealing too much because it's almost shown on the cover that he was attacked and beaten pretty badly back in the 1990s, and while he was working on Batman the Animated Series, and finally he wrote this graphic novel about that experience. And even though it's set in our universe, not Batman's universe, Batman and villains related to Batman act as kind of internal characters that Dini talks with and speaks to as he recovers from this beating that he took. It's an interesting book. I don't know if I loved it, but it's in terms of Batman stories, if you're just reading this thinking it's a Batman story, I think you're going to be disappointed. It's published under the Vertigo imprint, which is DC Comics, their imprint for mature reader titles, alternative books, not typically superhero fare. So calling this a Batman story is a bit of a stretch, and I think more of a marketing ploy than anything else. Although any 10-year-old that checks this out is pretty going to be disappointed. This is it's a depressing story in a lot of ways. It's not a typically heroic or safe story. It's sort of about this guy. I mean, it is about a guy, Paul Dini, who is working on this series, and he's a really I don't know if they use the term anymore, fanboy. He loves buying and reading all these books and things and action figures and toys and filling his apartment with those. But his life is very, you could say he has almost no life in terms of how he lives. His work is Batman. That's his outlet, and it pays the bills pretty well. But as he struggles to have a relationship with this woman and do other things in his life, you could see that it's kind of depressing. So he reaches this point where he seems like he's at an all-time low in his personal life when he's attacked, and he has to kind of confront a lot of personal issues, and that's how kind of Batman is used to act as a foil to his own issues in life. The artwork is really wonderful. It's similar in some sense to, it reminds me of, what does it remind me of? It reminds me a little of Frank Miller, which is appropriate because it's called Dark Knight and Miller's famous Dark Knight Returns. It also reminds me of Tim Sale, I believe, the one that did The Long Halloween, that kind of animated look, like each panel is almost like a cell taken from animation. I like the art a lot, actually. The story, though, it has a few moments that are interesting. It has some epiphanies that the author reaches that I can understand. And I think anyone who reads comics, even if they're not a fanboy, like I don't have any comics, but I read a lot, obviously. And I can relate to some degree to that level of obsession. I think nowadays, especially with the internet and all these subgroups and things that we can all delve into, we all have our obsessions and our things that we are experts about that other people have no idea what we're talking about, and we're off in our own world. So in a sense, we've all become fanboys. But this book doesn't really provide much. I hesitate to recommend it because it's about 100 and something pages long, and it has some moments that work, but it's just not that satisfying. Yeah, I would say that that's the biggest issue with it. The art is gorgeous, and I just want the character to be a little stronger. But this is who he is. This is an autobiographical tale. This might have been more appropriate maybe as a prose story, maybe. As a comic, it's just not that captivating to me. I'll remember it in a lot of ways. Yeah, it will. It does have some significant moments. It just doesn't have a lot of meaning attached to those moments. And I don't know how he could have improved upon that, but as it is, it's just not meaty enough. Yeah.